So Russian doping is on the front page of the Mail. Football is braced as Russia face Olympic acts. So what seems imminent over the next few days is that the IOC is going to announce their punishment for Russia's state doping. And it seems, we wait confirmation next week, it seems Russia will be banned from next year's Winter Olympics. And it seems some Russians will be allowed to compete under the neutral flag under certain conditions. And the Russian Deputy Minister, Vitaly Mutko, who oversaw, a lot of this stuff, he did a press conference alongside Infantino at the World Cup draw. He spent about an hour on stage.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a joyous thing where they would talk about the World Cup coming to Russia, and he spent the whole hour defending their systematic state doping. Saying at one point, which is the best bit, he said at one point, there's no proof of systematic doping in the country, as even FIFA thought, even we're not sure we can hold a straight face here.
Infantino leapt in to back him up on that one.
Yeah, I mean, you remember, I don't know where the football situation is in Russia, but June of this year, the entire 23-man squad from the 2014 World Cup was put under the people of interest category, and we don't quite know where the football situation is. Certainly at the press conference on Friday, the chief chairman of the FIFA medical committee said that the Russian authorities would have nothing to do with doping controls at the World Cup. Kind of admitting, look, we don't trust them either, really, but we are where we are, and
well, it has been suggested
we'll make
that
the best of it.
That Putin loves all the Winter Olympics. You know, that's what he's into, and has no time for the football at all. Partly because they're rubbish at the moment, so it's not for him. Obviously, there's nothing in it.
You can dope, Declan, but it can't make you backheel. You know what I'm saying? Can't help you score a penalty.
I know. Yeah, no. Russia, it's extraordinary. So some wonderful traditional sounds have come from the English media about England's chances in the World Cup. You know, always at this time.
Take your watch by, couldn't you? Yeah, first weekend of every December.
Yeah, this sort of war gaming. You know that great programme on Sunday morning where the top men of the English sports writing,
Sunday supplement,
football. So yeah, they sit around like the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and I was briefed this morning by Sam Allardyce and all this, and the wonderful sense of self-regard and self-possession, and then they start outlining the Britain's progress through the next World Cup. They've got it all worked out, like the D-Day landing, right? And the way they've worked it out this time is that it's worked out perfectly for England, right? That they'll play the crap teams in the first two matches, and then even though Belgium will beat them, it won't matter because it's the third match, and they'll kind of so it won't be a big deal. It'll just be a question of who they'll get in the next. And now then, of course, they've got to the last 16, right? You don't get to be the top soccer writer in England without going past the qualifying group. So they've worked out that in the last 16 they've got they could either have Poland, Colombia, Japan, or Senegal. Right? One guy said, all good sides, but not high, not high rollers, right? Or world beaters or whatever, right? Senegal, that wouldn't be. Was that Sadio Mane? Does he play for them?
I kind of shrink a bit that you're both looking at me as if I'd be authority on this.
Okay, Colombia have never been, shall we say, slouches.
No.
Yes. Yeah. Senegal.
Okay, Sadio
Mane.
Yeah, so you got Sadio Mane, right? Best player in the world right now, maybe? Is he? Well, he's certainly one of the. Would Sadio be the top 5 players in the world right now?
No, he wouldn't. No, come on.
Top 3?
Even with your Liverpool bias.
Okay, but up against England,
sure,
right? He could look rather good. Okay,
I agree,
and I just love that. So then, but they go through, of course, against one of these vaguely inferior teams, and then they've got Germany, who are not what they used to be.
No,
some of their better players are in retirement. Yeah. We're at the semi-final now. Okay, and probably the way they've worked it out is that geographically, having beaten Germany, they'll still be in the same place or something, which is another advantage. So we're in the final. And anything can happen then, of course. Yeah. Are they genuinely that hopeful? That's Jonathan Northcroft you're mentioning. Jonathan Northcroft writes the piece, but it is a piece universally endorsed. Well, I had felt that the English
football writers were generally accepting of their limited status over the last couple of tournaments. I had felt they had went in with an air of doom and gloom, actually,
but I think it's changed.
It's turned.
And I'll tell you what, I think they might do okay. When I saw it in myself, then I really started to worry, you know, that you start thinking like, you know, some of those guys are actually Dele Alli and all these guys. They're sort of good, you know.
Yeah. Grudgingly admit they're good technical players.
They'll make it to summer with some of the players that are
Harry
like
Kane,
if Harry Kane is leading the line and he's got Sterling and maybe Rashford on the other side, and Dele Alli is pulling the strings behind, and you've got a backline. I mean, I think the weakest part is possibly in goals, and Jordan Pickford isn't a slouch either. But if it's himself or Joe Hart, then
there is a kind of impossible to verbalise quality of England whereby they still lose to Iceland even when they have better players than Iceland.
They do manage.
Like there is something kind of
this is why when I say Poland, Colombia, Japan or Senegal,
who are from
Group H,
Group H for hipster.
Right.
Is it right? Yeah, okay. They are all my favourites against England. Realistically,
you
know, I mean Senegal. By the way, on the Russian thing, just before I forget, so Russian FA. Big suspicion.
The president of the Russian FA, by the way, is the deputy prime minister, Vitaly Mutko, which I think is a point that we possibly forget when we look at this, because if we think of state-sanctioned or state-sponsored doping, we kind of think we look at it through our lens and we go, well, John Delaney isn't an agent of the Irish state. He's got nothing to do with the Irish government. Vitaly Mutko, the deputy prime minister, is the president of the FA. That they're sporting bodies. It is soft power. It's post-Cold War. This is how we project our superiority onto the world because the government runs sports and the sports are the best in the world. So the direction is probably coming from close to the very top.
Well, okay. Well, then in that context, a last point from Nick Harris's piece in the title is he said at least 34 Russian footballers have been named to FIFA and are implicated in state-supported doping. And also Mutko, your John Delaney figure.
Yes.
Mutko, he was being investigated by FIFA's ethics chamber earlier this year for his involvement in doping. The status of that investigation is now unclear.
And it just so happens he was sharing a stage with Gianni Infantino.
So I don't know what's happened to that investigation into Mutko, but it's unclear at the moment. So presumably he's okay for the time being.
Well, again, the ethics chamber is purportedly independent of FIFA, so we don't know what's being pursued.